Jeff Stanley is well known in the candle making world and has been highly regarded as the king of candle making to some of us makers. He's been making candle making content here on YouTube since 2017, and since then, he has helped hundreds and thousands of different makers learn and grow their craft. He is also the creator of the Facebook group DIY Candle Making Beginner to Advanced, where other makers are able to connect and ask questions and build a community around candle making. Over the years, Jeff has experienced many milestones that makers dream about, including growing into a warehouse space, hiring employees, and increasing revenue. But through that journey, he discovered a side of business ownership that few entrepreneurs openly talk about. In today's conversation, we explore what growth really costs, the trade-off that comes with scaling, and how to decide what kind of life and business you actually want to build. So please help me welcome Jeff Stanley to the Candle Business Podcast. So this conversation between me and Jeff is inspired by a comment that I got on my YouTube video, and I did a whole video on it. I think I posted it around a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And essentially what the video was is somebody had commented on my YouTube channel and they said, why don't you buy a house if your candle business works? And a lot of you had a lot to say, and Jeff also had a lot to say about it as well. And we really wanted to get together, do this interview, and talk about some things that typically isn't talked about enough. We're going to be really honest, very transparent in our experiences. Jeff is going to go over his experience. But real quick, Jeff, I just want to know, what was your first initial reaction to my video and the comment that I received on that video?
I definitely had a lot to say. I saw the title pop up. It's a question that I get a ton, and I've gotten a ton over the
Oh,
nine,
really?
almost 10 years. Yeah, I've definitely gotten that one as well. That's why I definitely had to click in there. I think I watched it. It popped up immediately, watched it, and I messaged you like right after I left a comment and said, "Hey, if you want to talk about this, I've got a lot of insight as having done this, and thought it was a great topic to really go further into." And I thought you covered it really well. It was a great video, so definitely a topic that I thought required a lot more, or not only required, but could have gone a lot deeper. And again, like I said, since I've done this for a while, actually jumped into excuse me, actually jumped into my own warehouse, I've definitely got some more insight and kind of words of caution for people that are looking to get into it.
Yeah, because you've gone a step further than we have, because we've never moved out of our apartment for
Yeah.
the actual workspace. And it seems almost from your comment that you would actually recommend to stay here as long as we possibly can before actually expanding.
I definitely do. And it's something that I didn't know because, again, I was the same people asking the question. It was the one thing I wanted to do. Once the candle business got to a certain point, I was like, okay, I absolutely want to get into retail space, a commercial space, kind of move past the farmers markets. And now that I've done it and saw what it is, I mean, it's definitely something that down the line, it would still be fun to do again. But flipping two sides of the coin, I absolutely would, me personally, prefer staying in the house, apartment, whatever you're doing, working out of a garage. With everything I've done and seen now, me personally, I definitely prefer that.
It's interesting hearing your perspective on that from somebody who has had that experience, because I feel like from a maker perspective, and I'm sure other people watching this video have felt the same way, because I know I have, is like, it seems like the ultimate goal is to get a separate space, is like that is
Yeah,
kind of a
absolutely.
definition of success. That's like, okay, we're making enough to be able to. And like you had said in your comment, a lot of people think that, and I can't lie, I've thought this before, and I've even talked with my husband about it before. I'm like, well, if we get, if we get a bigger space, like then we can make more money. But that's not
Yeah.
always the case. Like just because it seems like just because you're now renting a bigger space, it doesn't mean that now the sales are tripling or quadrupling just because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see this happen not only with the warehouse boutique or getting into a retail front, but even people beginning, starting out getting a website. A lot of people think as soon as they get a website, their sales are just going to immediately double and triple. And I mean, as you know as well as I do, that's definitely not the case because as soon as you get a website, you're going into advertising, you're going into marketing, you basically have to move people to your website. And unfortunately, I do see a lot of people who just automatically think I now have a candle website. That means millions of people see it. And that's absolutely not the case. And it's definitely the case with the retail space also.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You have to actually drive people to, like, in your local area to actually come
Yeah.
to your retail store. So real quick, let's take a step back. So I want to hear from you. Just give us a whole, it doesn't have to be a synopsis. You can go as
All right.
detailed as you want into it. Just let us know your entire candle business journey and then mainly focus on the areas that we're talking about, like maybe within the last, what, 5 years, like since COVID probably is where things really changed for you, like in
Yeah, I
terms of.
started. Yeah, absolutely. I started the warehouse business. So basically, I'll go back further than that one. So
Mhm.
started the candle business just out of my kitchen with my daughter. My son helped a little bit, but he was definitely more off camera. Doesn't really like to be on camera. Started the business with my daughter, working full time and then doing candles at night. Started out doing pretty well. I mean, instantly, I work in a huge building, so I sold a lot of candles to people I worked with, friends, family, coworkers, stuff like that. And then did the natural progression. I reached out to retail stores, trying to get wholesale clients, and got a few of those. And then I moved to farmers markets, did those for a couple of years. And then, of course, the progression from that is, okay, the candles are doing well enough, selling enough online that I think I can get into maybe a retail space. And the other thing that really sparked that one was I had a supplier that was trying to break into the market, and they sold waxes, wicks, vessels, everything like that. So they kind of wanted to uh, basically get on board with me, send me a bunch of stuff, vessels, wax, wicks, and everything like that, and get into the retail space and really kind of jump it from there. So did that one. We got in probably the worst time you could get in with that kind of stuff. So everything was starting like right as COVID happened. So, and this again goes into what we're talking about in the thing I wanted to bring up from your video, all the added costs that you just don't think about. Getting shipments in from China or wherever you're going to be getting it from, 5, 6 years ago was still expensive to bring it in, of course, because if you're spending 10,000 on a load, you're going to get import fees. And of course, we all know about import fees and tariffs now, but back then there were not really tariffs like we know today, but import fees. And when COVID hit, import fees just instantly doubled. So something that would cost you 5 to 10,000, getting into the port and releasing it instantly jumped to 15 to 20,000. So those were costs that definitely didn't think about.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then went through had the store, warehouse, and the boutique for, I think, 2, almost 3 years, before we kind of shut everything down. But yeah, that's like the kind of, I guess, the story arc of the whole thing.
So when you were running the retail store, what was
Mhm.
that like? How did you go through the hiring process? How did that, because I know, for instance, I've never actually hired an employee, but I did put my husband on payroll years back,
Yeah.
and it's expensive
Oh,
to
yeah.
pay employees.
Yeah.
It's expensive to have people on payroll because you have to
Yep.
play, you like, there's different, the employer taxes, like there's different taxes and things that you have to pay for, not to mention the actual money that you're paying that employee for. So I'm just curious about that part because that's something I've never done before.
Yeah, that was definitely, like you said, a lot more expensive than you think it's going to be. Not only are you paying an employee, trying to figure out what to pay an employee, and obviously your husband coming in, I'm assuming uh, he knows what the end goal is, so he's not looking for 40, $50 an hour. You can
Mhm.
probably pay him a little bit less. Not that you do, but like if I was to bring in my son, if I was to bring in my son, I don't have to start him out at like an incredibly large salary because he knows that he's going to be building it along with me. Uh, and that's kind of everybody's different in that one, of course. And then, of course, on top of that, you're looking at L&I. I mean, you've got to pay uh, not really insurance, but gosh, I can't even think of it. If somebody gets hurt on the job,
Oh, workers' comp.
yeah, workers comp.
Yeah.
It's
Is that the
escaping me.
same thing as what did you say? L&I?
Yeah, L&I claim.
Oh, is that like
Again,
workers'
I
comp?
forget. Yeah, basically the same thing. So you've got to go through your state. That's going to be a couple $100 a month, depending on how many employees you have. So you've got to worry about that kind of stuff. So when we first started the warehouse, it was basically just me and my girlfriend at the time, and yeah, definitely a lot of work on our side. And then once I started to hire, the hiring process was actually easy for me because I just reached out to people in the candle group on Facebook and found somebody that was local, and she turned out to be incredible. And she lived just like 10 miles away, so it was easy for her to come in. And the end goal, candles, because she ran her own candle business. So she was excited to get in there, work with the supplies, and do everything. And she was still doing her candles on the side. And then, of course, getting a discount on like vessels and wax and stuff like that definitely
Hmm.
helps. So that part actually became real easy. But we got to a point where we wanted to expand past that and get a couple more employees. And there's only so many people that are in the candle group. So reaching out and trying to find somebody that can work within those times, somebody that's got, I guess, enthusiasm for candles. Because, I mean, some people just want a job. They don't really care if they're moving candles.
Hmm.
And trying to find somebody that, I guess, has that kind of same enthusiasm that you do definitely gets a lot tougher.
Yeah, I could imagine because it's also somebody else representing like your business and your brand,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, absolutely.
something, I mean, and at this point, Chris is so, he's so particular in the way that he does things. And
Yeah.
like, it could be, I could see it being a challenge when you're trying to bring somebody in who's going to represent you and your business.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and now this is for Stanley Handcrafted, right? Because I know this is for your candle business, and I know you also did a supply business as well, correct?
Yeah, it
And
was
this,
oh sorry,
sorry,
yeah,
this is
West
separate.
Zone. This was it was basically opened another. We had the LLC, Stanley Handcrafted, and then
Mhm.
we opened the additional arm of that, which was West Sound Candle Supply, and so we sold Stanley Handcrafted candles out of the warehouse because we ended up creating a boutique in one corner of it. And again, additional costs that we just didn't think about at the time, stuff that anybody looking to own a business, you're going to have to think about stuff like that. But yeah, this was a whole kind of separate arm of the LLC.
Okay. Now, in terms of profit margins, if you want
Hmm.
to give a general idea, because obviously when people are doing the candle business out of their homes, which most people probably start in their kitchen,
Yep.
probably have a little corner, a bedroom if they're lucky to be able to have all their things in there, versus paying because we've done the math before, even just getting a separate warehouse space. I mean, minimum around here
Oh yeah.
is between two and $3,000 a
Yep.
month to be able to have even just like a smaller, 500-600 square foot space to
Yep.
be able to work out of, which obviously that cuts into the profit. And that was one of the things that I mentioned in the video is that, with an inventory based business like a candle business, you got to be able to have those cash reserves available to be able to
Yeah.
invest back into your business. So could you talk a little bit about that side of things?
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind. And that was one of the things I brought up in the comment that I made is not only, I mean, you're taking on, and I live in a real expensive area too, Tacoma, Seattle area, where I was lucky, and I say lucky with in quotes, lucky to get a warehouse space that was $2,500 a month. And and luckily it was a big enough space to kind of house everything. But
Mm-hmm.
and there are certain products where it takes up a ton of space, like wax and vessels, especially if you have a lot of vessels to choose from. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a thousand square foot space is not going to hold 30 different types of vessels. Or if it does hold 30 types, you've got like 10 of each. So you definitely need a space to accommodate that. If you're only doing candles, you can kind of get away with a 500 to 1,000 square foot space. But yeah, there's a lot of additional costs that come into that. And like you said, if you want to keep inventory on hand, that's another cost. If you're doing, I mean, $500 and $500 to order candle supplies isn't a whole lot. So if you're doing $1,000 inventory reorders every single month, and then you're looking at $2,000 for the retail space, I mean, you're already at $3,000 just right there. So trying to sell enough candles, and then you're constantly working to resupply that many candles too. It definitely gets out of hand real fast.
Now, in terms of the actual keeping the business going, something else you had
Mhm.
mentioned in your comment was Now I don't know if you would just mention this, like, people typically don't want to have to take on debt to keep growing. Is that something that you felt like at a certain point that you were needing to take advantage of in order to keep the business going on your end? Because obviously, there's people in all different situations. There's good debt, bad debt, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Was that something that you felt like you had to kind of utilize for a short amount of time, or did you keep everything on a cash basis?
No, there was definitely a time where, and again, I follow a lot of business people, podcasts, and everything like that, and they always talk about the good debt, bad debt. In the very beginning, never took on debt. Everything was coming in, and I didn't have to really put. Basically, I had all the profit margins coming in, or all the
Mhm.
profit coming in, that I could just reinvest it right into the business. But once you get to a certain level, you definitely get to a point where it's like, okay, if I do this, speeding up production time or something like that, ordering a couple more melters, if you're filling oils, moving from like a hand pump to a machine pump, you know that you can basically make yourself more efficient. So anybody's going to get to a point where you want to take on debt, or you think about it a little bit more. I'm definitely on the side of not taking on debt if you don't have to. We did it a couple times when we were coming up, and I use Shopify. And if you've ever used Shopify, they offer their capital loans and everything like that. So
Mhm.
the first time it came through, I think it was like $1,000, and I was like, okay, yeah, $1,000 isn't too bad. Take on $1,000. We're making more than that, so we could easily pay it off real quick. And we did. I paid it off within the first month. And then, of course, once you take on that Shopify capital loan, they start offering more, especially if the business is doing well. So at some point, and we started to get like 10, 15, $20,000 offers. And I think I took on a $5,000 one at one point, just to instantly get a couple pallets of wax, more vessels,
Mhm.
like 30, $40,000 or 30, 40,000 in wicks, not dollars, 30, 40,000 wicks, so that you can just instantly bag those up and get them out. And luckily, we could get through and pay it off quick. But I think the biggest thing that people don't think about when you're taking on debt like that is you do get to a point where you have the on hand stock. You're moving a little bit more efficient. But all that profit coming in, you instantly see it go away. And of course, everybody knows that you're paying your bills. But when you're getting like a $5,000 profit, and 2,500 instantly goes towards the not only the bills, but like the loan that you're paying off, you start to think about like, damn, I mean, that was $2,500 I could have kind of chipped away at having these at different intervals. Instead of 30,000 wicks in one day, I could have had 30,000 wicks over 2 months, which would have worked just fine. And like I said, we were able to pay it off quick, which was nice. But I don't know. I hated seeing that money go out to, even though I profited from that money coming in, just seeing that money going out every single time. And then depending on your loan amounts, and especially with Shopify, you've got like a base. I think sometimes they take like 20%. I was trying to look up the terms. It's been a while since I took it, but uh, and anybody that's in the candle business knows this. It's an up and down business. The candle peak season through September through December, you're going to have your highest months. So if you're bringing in several $1,000s a month, paying off that loan amount is not really a big deal. But once you hit like April, May, and it dips a little bit more, and you're still paying a 20% towards whatever loan you've got, you definitely start to miss that money that you would have had otherwise.
Yeah, I could imagine it's almost like a mental thing because even when I'm like, for instance, I actually, and this is just a mental thing for me, sometimes I almost like if there's a big order, I like
Hmm.
not getting paid until the order ships
Yeah,
because
put
like
you under the gun a little
unfair,
bit.
you know what I mean? Like if it's a big wholesale order unfair, and this is a mental thing.
Yeah,
Either way, we're getting the money. And honestly, sometimes it's the opposite because if it's a really large order, it'd be really nice to have some of that money coming in to buy
yeah,
some of the supplies that we need. And that's kind of where that like there's this weird thing with an inventory based business to where you want to spend enough on each supply item to get a lower cost of goods, but
yep,
you don't want to be having all of your money tied up in inventory that's not being moved. And
exactly.
that can be really challenging and it can be really hard, especially with having different fragrance oils and things like that, because again, you could be having, 7 pound jugs of fragrance that you haven't needed to touch in 3 months, and that's, $200 sitting right there that could go to something else.
Exactly.
Um, which is a big reason why we actually do everything made to order right now. So even retail, even everything is all made to order, because it's just something that we don't want to have any of that just tied up on the shelves.
Yep.
We've kind of, with living off of the money and trying to go through all those ups and downs and everything. Which reminds me, you have worked a full-time job throughout all of this, throughout the
I
last
have.
10 years, which
I
is
have.
so crazy. I couldn't even imagine like working that and then everything is on the side. So all the candle business stuff, everything that you've done has all been after work and on the weekends.
Yeah, and it's definitely been a blessing and a curse at times. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously having the job, uh, you've got that money coming in to where if the candles like slow down during the off seasons, you still have money to put towards supplies. But where it definitely hit me the most, and I should have known this going into it, was opening something as big as the warehouse, doing all those supplies, having 30, 40 different items to choose from. And that's again why I brought on employees is to help with that. But I definitely underestimated it. I definitely bit off more than I can chew in certain areas because I mean, coming home and making candles for 2, 3, 4 hours isn't really that big of a deal. But when you have to go into a warehouse and work for minimum 3 to 4 hours and sometimes another 6 or 7 just to get through stuff, because with that many supplies, your order count, of course, is going way up. There were times when I either didn't have time and I couldn't go in, so that pushes orders out another day, which is awful. And then you're going in, so you work 8 hours during the day, you go to the warehouse, work another 5, 6, 7 hours. It definitely wears you down. So, yeah, the work-life balance between home and having a retail space is definitely one of the things I wanted to bring up because and again, I'm older now. So if I'm doing this in my 20s and 30s, definitely a lot more energy to put towards something like that. It's not going to affect me as much. Uh, but yeah, 51 now, I don't have the energy for that kind of stuff. And it definitely hits a lot harder.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the working a day job at the same time. Although I do a little bit because I
Mhm.
did from 22 to 26, I always had a different, side business I was trying to grow and work on. I
Yep.
was doing the candle business on the side or at least trying to get it going. So I understand that, but I could imagine the work-life balance because you have full-time job, which even just being a mom and having the business, I know that sometimes, when I'm with my son and we're doing stuff, I'm like, oh, I gotta respond to that email and I gotta make sure that I post this. And like there's always something that you're
Oh yeah.
thinking of. Did you find that you were when you're working your full-time job, are you able to kind of put that off to the side, or would you have to step away and be like, hey, I gotta go take a call, I gotta go talk to my employee, I gotta go do this? Like, do you have that flexibility? It seems like you've been working at your job for quite a while.
Yeah, I've been there for 14 years now, and I definitely ran into that. And luckily, within my job, uh, I work in IT, so I'm kind of in and out. I'm not really by myself all day long, but I'm answering calls and going to offices and courtrooms and stuff like that all day long. So I'm lucky enough to be in a position to where if I had to make a call, I can definitely step away. But a lot of people don't have that luxury. A couple breaks through the day, anytime I would hit my lunch, I would instantly jump in, updating prices, updating SKUs. So yeah, definitely hard to do. There were absolutely times where emails come in, and I try not to check it when I'm at work, but I've got a bad habit of doing that. I don't like seeing the red dots on the emails coming in,
Hmm.
so I try to get to them as quick as possible. Uh, Definitely a lot better about that years ago. But yeah, you're sitting in a courtroom or sitting in a meeting for 2 hours, and you've got people or employees kind of asking you things, and you can't step away. It's a lot to try and balance, and it
Yeah.
again draining on top of that too.
Yeah, I could only imagine. Now, question for you, because you've gone the last 10 years of in the candle business industry, still with your full-time job. So my question to you is, do you ever see yourself going full time into your candle business, or what would that look like for you? Like, what would have to be in place for you to be like, okay, now I feel like, because as you know, as an entrepreneur running a business, it's never, you never feel like that security. Like, you never,
Yeah.
it's always this, like, and that's that give or take. People always say, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7 in my own business kind of thing. Like you're
Yeah.
always on a lot of the time. So I'm just curious if that's ever something that you even want to do, or if you like just having it be on the side, or how you're feeling with that.
Well, I'm definitely something, or definitely somebody that likes to have something on the side. I've always been kind of a side entrepreneur. I've always done stuff even since like middle school and high school. But leaving the full-time job is absolutely still the end goal. But like I said, now that I'm a little bit older, I'm thinking about it a lot differently than I used to years ago. And again, if I was in my 20s, in your 20s, leaving a job and pursuing something like that for 5 years is a little bit easier to do. But again, like I said, I'm 51 now. I'm in a very good job, building towards a good retirement. I've got good benefits. I still have kids. They're still on my insurance. So me leaving to do well, like the printer back here. I'm doing a lot more printing now for candle makers, doing labels
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I am actually I sold oils way back in the day, and I'm just getting ready to relaunch the oils now that I'm in a position to launch them again. So moving towards things like that, definitely the end goal. But the main thing for me, if I do something like that, I've got to be way more strategic about it. So in my mind, I need to have the side business doing, and this is like a shoot for the stars type of goal. I need to have the side business doing double what I make working for the job that I do before I can even think about doing something like that. Because again, I mean, if I do leave, I still have to put money towards retirement. I've got to, I mean, your own medical coverage, stuff like that. So there's a lot of costs that I would want to make sure that it covers before I do something like that. And opening the warehouse, this is another thing I didn't think about at the time. Opening the warehouse during COVID, I saw the can, well, yeah, during COVID, and I'm sure you saw this too, the YouTube views shot through the roof because everybody was at home watching YouTube. Candles were doing a little bit better. And then, of course, over the last like 5, 6 years, we've seen the economy just kind of go
Down.
all over the
Yep.
place and like really down right now where costs are really through the roof. So
Yep.
at one point, I was like, oh, in a year from now, during COVID when it first started, warehouse coming up, YouTube views through the roof. I was like, oh, I'll be out of this in a year. I can easily do this. And then, like a year later, it took a huge dive. And we even saw that with the warehouse. I mean, going from 1 month and then the very next month, sales were just cut in half for like no reason whatsoever. And then the very next month, it was down another couple thousand. So it was like, okay, holding off a little bit on the breaking the 9 to 5 goal. And so now, not to be long winded about it, but I don't know. I want to kind of ride the trend for a little bit. If I do get the oils and the printing to a certain point, I'd like to ride that wave for a little bit just to see kind of where I guess where the graph kind of ends up, because I don't want to jump out and again, something happens with the economy and sales just instantly get cut in half within 2, 3 months.
Yeah, and there is definitely a big difference between running your candle business on the side where you can reinvest all those profits back into it
Yep.
while you still have your job versus
Yeah.
living off of the candle business income.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
this is something a lot of people will ask, how do I know when I'm ready to quit my job to go full time into candles? How would you respond to comments? I'm sure you've gotten comments like that before where people
Oh, yeah.
ask, like, when do I know?
Yeah.
How do I know that I'm ready? All that, those kind of comments.
I would say anybody that's looking to do something like that, I would tell anybody if you're doing farmers markets, before you jump into something like that, see what you're doing for a solid year. I would say a year minimum, just so that you can see the up and downs. You can see what candle sales are like during November and December, which are through the roof. And then you can see what candle sales are like in March, April, and May in the spring when people are starting to get outside more. People aren't really burning candles through the summertime as much as they do in the wintertime. Ride that wave for a little bit. And I would honestly say if you can do it for longer than a year, definitely do it just so that you can see that it's not just like a spike. Because a lot of people jumped into business during COVID because everything was so good. I mean, people were home, they were buying candles. And again, like we said, YouTube views were through the roof. So it felt like candles were just like shooting up through the moon. And over the next probably 2 years after that, a lot of those people, and if you're in the candle groups at all, you saw a lot of posts with people saying, hey, I can't do this anymore. I got to get out. Costs are through the roof. Shipping is through the roof. And you want to know that you can ride those waves a little bit before you jump into something.
Yeah. And, we obviously you got into the candle business before I did. But we definitely got to ride a wave that a lot of people that are just getting into it didn't
Yeah.
get to experience for both YouTube and just the candle business in
Oh, yeah,
general.
absolutely.
Because I felt like, in 2020, I'm like, wow, the sales are just coming in. Like, this is amazing, like this is great.
Yep.
And then 2021, I noticed a difference. And then 2022, I was like, oh, I have to work harder. Like, there's a
Yep.
difference when you're an entrepreneur, when you are in an economy that's doing good or a weird economy like 2020. Like 2020 was just a very weird year. Um, but I'm sure you noticed because I'm sure that like 2016 to 2019, I mean, things were going pretty good. Like I didn't experience actually selling candles at that time.
Mhm.
So maybe you could speak more on that. But it's interesting as an entrepreneur when you can ride the waves of, okay, things are really hard right now. Like we can all agree the last 4, 5 years have especially been hard. Definitely the last like
Yeah.
3 years, really, it's been ups and downs. Um, last year was very, very difficult for us,
Mhm.
just in general. But it's interesting going through those really hard times because it almost changes the way that you think of things, changes your brain and how you have to now work a little bit harder to get the same result, which almost doesn't seem very fair. But in business, it's kind of like it's like survival of the fittest when it comes to
Yeah.
businesses. So it can be really difficult. But it's one of those things where it seems like you are kind of like me in the sense that you, in the moment where you are in your life, you figure out what's working the best and going more
Mhm.
into that. Like obviously I have side things. We both have YouTube channels that brings in a little
Yep.
bit of income. We both do, offer things for other candle makers that brings in some income. It helps to diversify, and you don't even have to
Yeah.
diversify in that regard. I think that as a candle business owner, there are ways to diversify. If you're selling online, if you're doing markets, if you do candle making workshops, like all these things are ways to diversify the income, getting on Etsy to have another platform. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I feel like that's really important to do if you're struggling. And if people are feeling, because we've all felt it, like me and Jeff, we are not just because we're on YouTube, just because, we've been doing it for so long, like we feel the same things that everybody
Oh, yeah,
does,
absolutely.
the same things. Like we feel the
Yep.
insecurity. We feel the like, am I even cut out for this? I'm sure you felt
Yep.
the same way. I don't mean to speak
Oh,
for
yeah.
you, but I could
Nope, you're
imagine.
you're right on board.
I could imagine that you probably feel the same way. Where you just, we're all just doing the best we can. And most people running businesses, like there's no like secret. I don't know. There's no secret. It's just you do it and you just
Yeah.
work at it every day. You see what works, you try different things, trying to get through the times that we're in right now. And then when things get really good, then you get to enjoy that again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's doing the candle business, like you said, I think a lot of people tend, like the term water follows the path of least resistance. And that's definitely what I ran into doing the candles, going to farmers markets, getting into supplies, doing vessels. Uh, I did courses years and years ago, doing the PDFs and stuff like that. You want to uh, you want to diversify and expand, and there's some things you just don't know that you're going to expand to. And one of the good things about the YouTube channel is you got a lot of people asking questions, and they start to ask questions or want things that you just didn't think about. And once you get to a certain position with the knowledge that you have after doing this for a long time, you start to realize like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I probably can do coaching sessions or courses or something like that, because I have a lot of people asking, might as well do something like that. I have a lot of people asking for vessels now or wicks. I'm in and out. in a chance and I have the opportunity to offer something like that because so many people are asking for it now. And you definitely get to a certain point where you realize certain things don't work, so you kind of transition. And like you said, expanding or diversifying well within the candles, that's part of the reason I started to do a lot more labels. I was printing labels for people, gosh, probably 7 or 8 years ago. And it was only because I had a giant printer and I was doing my own labels at the time. So I had people reaching out, saying, "Hey, I don't know how to print, just doing like Avery stuff. They never come out. Do you think you could print some for me?" And I did that for kind of once a month, twice a month with people that needed them. And then after a while, I'm like, okay, I got enough people asking for labels. Why am I not upgrading my printer and offering a better label at this point? So yeah, it's stuff like that. You just kind of move. You're well within candles, but you start to open up other avenues that are going to work within it too.
Yeah, and you start to listen to what your audience wants. Now, of course, Jeff and I, again, unique situation because we're on YouTube, we have both two different types of markets. So like people that like candles and then people that want to make candles.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like I
Yep.
I kind of have that community of both, so we have that as an option. But just in terms of when you have a candle business, listening to what your customers are asking for is a really good thing to do. Like, for instance, if
Yeah.
people are continuously asking if you have reed diffusers, then maybe you should think about
Yep.
offering reed diffusers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, just listening to what your customers are wanting, and being able to, accommodate and grow with what you're already being asked. Now, something I'm curious about, if you had the chance to start completely over and you have the experience of the last 10 years,
Mhm.
what would you do to grow a candle business basically from the very beginning? Like in terms of where would you sell and how would you do that?
I'd say the biggest one right now is TikTok. I mean, obviously everybody knows about TikTok, but getting into candles, doing anything like that, getting into the candle groups is one thing. But again, you're in a group with a lot of candle makers, so it's a real tough one. Um, Basically anything online. So whether it's Instagram, I mean, Snapchat hasn't been good for a decade. Plus, it's so hard to market there; it's pointless. Most people use it for other things anyway.
Hmm.
But TikTok is a huge one. You see a lot of businesses on TikTok. Just, I mean, with one video, you can instantly go to 100,000 people. So that's definitely a big one. So along with making your candles, and this is goes right back into what the kind of the entire topic of the video is. A lot of people don't think about this kind of thing. If you're opening a storefront, you're going to have to advertise. You're going to be on Instagram. You're going to be on Facebook, TikTok, anything like that. You're going to want to put out at least a couple videos a day, which again takes you away from making candles. Now you're doing your own marketing, video production, editing, anything like that. But yeah, I think if I was to do it all over again, I would instantly jump to social media and I would be putting out as much content as possible. And at this point, there's really no such thing as content overload because there's so much going on there. And the algorithm is kind of worked to only push your content to the people that want to see it because you can put out a dozen videos in a day and you might get 30 views on every single one. And then, so the people that do follow you, if you're putting out 30 videos, they might see two of them. So a lot of people get kind of confused with that one. So putting out as much content as possible. If you get to a certain point and you can learn it, I would say Facebook advertising is really good. That's still a huge market, but it's also a very saturated market. And you have to be really good at it. And I'm not great at Facebook advertising. I still do a little bit of it, but that's something that if I couldn't learn it myself or I didn't have the time to learn it myself, I'd have to pay somebody to try and do that for me.
Yeah. It's interesting when talking about ads and social media and things like that, because this was something that not that I was against it in the beginning when I got started, but I always thought like, oh, I'm just gonna post, like I'm just gonna do
Yeah.
everything else except for paying for ads. And now as time goes on, and now that I've heard and experienced that, because Facebook and Instagram are basically the same thing now,
Yeah.
that the algorithm has worked in a way so that ads, I feel like, are actually they work better from what I've heard, researched, not personal experience because I never used to I didn't run them in the past, but
Hmm.
because of the way that it works, like you said, to where it's really good at finding the people that it needs to find. Like
Yeah.
that's its whole job. So it just has to run for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Something that I've been playing around with is on Instagram because I don't know, I feel like I'm still not able to run like an actual Facebook ad. Something happened where they suspended my ad account or whatever.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it's been a
Facebook is a
thing for a
tough one.
while. Yeah, it's been due to suspicious activity. So I'm
Oh,
like, okay, I don't know what that means. So, but on Instagram, what I think is actually a really great thing to play around with is trying to find people in your local area and building up a community around that
yeah.
because it immediately draws people to you because they're like, oh, they live in the same city as me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then it makes them want to follow you. And you can actually use the target demographic even when just boosting a post
Yeah.
and choosing your local area and just having a reel. I mean, reels are everything now. And if
Yeah.
you can do a voiceover, there's all these things that I'm learning to like really get a better engagement on your videos. I know a lot of people don't like to be the face of their brand. Do you have any comments on that? I have my thoughts on that, and I understand both ways. But let's talk about that because I feel like that is actually something that can really help small business owners, but it's
Yeah.
kind of a hard hurdle to get over.
It definitely is, and that's one of the good things about social media now. And it's gotten to the point where there are so many accounts that do have either a voiceover, even the TikTok voiceover. I've seen videos with 1 million views, and it has just the basic TikTok voiceover, and they
Hmm.
do great. So if you don't want to be the actual face of your business, which a lot of people don't, and a lot of people don't want to talk on their videos too. So there are a lot of ways to get around that now. I know AI is a real touchy subject. I still don't use it a ton, and I feel ashamed saying that as working in IT. I should be using AI a lot more than I do. But even getting to a website where you can just upload a script, and if you give them a sample of your voice, I actually have a video out there that I recorded myself, and then I just had AI just to test it, do a complete Spanish translation. So it's me and my voice doing full Spanish. And I mean, I don't speak Spanish, so I think
So
it sounds
who knows
good.
if it's
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
there are a lot of things you can do now. And even if you don't want to use AI, like I said, the TikTok voiceover, I don't know if Instagram Reels has a voiceover option, but if you don't mind getting on there and talking, and again, I think even somebody that's a little shy, I think that can work in in your favor also because a lot of people want that authentic story. A lot of people get so many ads now, they want to see a real person who's probably a little bit more shy talking about their candle business and what they do. And again, it just comes down to an engaging video, asking questions or showing vulnerabilities or something like that. I would tell anybody, I wouldn't say you have to get over your fears and get over that hurdle, but if you're doing anything online, there is a point where you do kind of have to make that hurdle and kind of put yourself out there a little bit. But at the very base of it, even somebody that doesn't really want to, you can find, uh, and I hate to say it again, but Chat GPT prompts come up with like a short script and it'll translate it to audio for you. I don't lean that way because a lot of people really don't like AI. They don't like seeing the ads. They don't like seeing the videos. So I haven't really ventured into that area too much. But again, just typing up something simple. And actually, there's a YouTuber on that I watch, and he does aesthetic videos. He does like model builds and video games and stuff like that. He doesn't hardly show his face. He doesn't say anything in the videos. And every once in a while, he'll just have a question pop up at the bottom of the video. He gets like 30, 40,000 views per video, and he's not saying anything. I still don't know what he looks like, but his videos are done so well. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you can kind of get around all that.
Yeah, I feel like the reality of it is that you have to be able to excel or stand out in one way or another.
Yeah.
So whether it's the video quality,
Yep.
the your actual product, if your product is like, the the products that stand out, like they're beautiful, there's like
Oh yeah,
gold
absolutely.
foil on, you know what I mean? Like it makes people want to watch it. Your personality, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like there's things that you can utilize that will excel. So even if you don't want to talk, even if you don't want to show your face, if you have a product that's going to stand out in some way, whether it's a niche that people are really going to love, the just overall beauty of the product, I feel like those things that you can really focus on, because I feel like in the world that we live in today, it's very visual, it's very fast, short attention spans, and having just a regular candle without, just making a regular candle without showing your face, without talking, without anything, it's not going to
Mhm.
keep people's attention. So it is kind of a game that we have to play to be like, okay, what's
Yeah.
going to get people's attention? And
Yeah,
everybody's attention
absolutely.
seekers nowadays. We have to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you definitely have to find your niche. And when you were saying that, it reminded me of a TikToker that's been popping up on my feed the last couple days, just out of nowhere. And it's a guy named T Todd. He makes berry tea handbags.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen it. You'll have to look him up because the
Mm-mm.
handbags, I mean, I'm not a handbag guy, of course, but even me seeing the videos, like I see the videos come across, I see the handbags that he created, they're incredible. And again, me as a guy, not even buying something like that, I notice it. And if you watch his videos, he's a guy that doesn't really come across very well on camera. I don't think he probably didn't set out to be on camera. He speaks a little bit kind of awkward, but people love him because what he creates is absolutely, I mean, they're beautiful bags, very well done. There's something that stands out, like you were just saying. They stand out from what's already out there, and people like that. People gravitate towards that. And once they see the bag that he's created, you definitely have to look him up because what he's doing is great.
You said
But
T Todd?
yeah, T Todd, I think is his TikTok name. Or if you look up Berry Tea Bags on TikTok,
Hmm.
you'll see it. They're really cool. And I mean, his following has just gone through the roof. His views are through the roof. And again, like I said, he's not somebody that you would probably gravitate towards to online, but his story is so good that people follow along because the product ends up being so good.
Yeah.
And I
And
think a
that's
lot of people, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that's a good point that people like to follow stories and they like to follow
Yeah,
individuals. And I think that that's a
absolutely.
huge advantage to small business owners is that
Yeah,
if you don't have to share your entire life. I don't. Like, I've never
no.
shared my son's name, my son's face, but
Yep.
I share enough to where people know a little bit into my life, but I don't share
Yeah.
every single thing, my entire day.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Yeah,
you
and
know,
it's amazing. And that reminded me of another thing. I used to be active on Reddit a long time ago. You mentioned it in your last video. You only get to see 10 minutes out of your 24-hour day in one of the videos. So there's a lot that people just don't know, people don't understand. And like I was going to say with Reddit, I never realized, I thought I put quite a bit out there. Like I said, I never really had my son on video too much because he just didn't care for it. My daughter was on there with me quite a bit. And then people, if you go back and look at the main video that I've got, the candle making video, there are so many comments in there talking about how you can tell that my daughter doesn't want to be on video. She looks bored. My daughter loved being in that video. She's a very shy girl.
yeah, like
And so people will come up with anything they want. So if you can tell your story the best way possible, you got to ride with that. And like you said, somebody seeing 10 minutes out of your 24 hours, they're going to come up with something no matter what anyway. But yeah, just putting your best foot forward and yeah, just showing people what your story is, I think is the main thing. And a lot of people will pick that up.
Yeah, and the hard part too is that there's no getting away from the possibility of people saying something negative.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely. Yeah.
there's no way around it. There's no, you know
Yep.
what I mean? Like negative reviews, negative people
Yep.
saying this is stupid or like,
Oh
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
Well,
there's
and
there's
that
no getting around it.
that goes right back to the Reddit thing I was going to example is I used to make posts in the entrepreneur Reddit and every single year just building my candle business. Here's year one. Here's what we're doing. Year two. Here's what we're doing. Here's what I learned. I think I got up to about year 5 or 6 and this was when we were doing the candle business and everything like that. And then of course at the time I went through a divorce. which had absolutely nothing to do with the candle business. We were together for 27 years. But I made a post and I mentioned it in like one little sentence, and then somebody took that post, created a separate post, and there were probably 100 comments of people going through, I bet it was this, the candle. I mean, they talked about everything, the candle business, the divorce.
Speculation.
Almost, yeah, it was just nothing but speculation, nothing but assumptions. And literally 99, and I went through and answered every single one of them, and just about 99% were 100% wrong. And I'm like, how did you come up with that from like, I mean, and it was like 2 pages of everything that I wrote, and people just like confusing timelines and doing markets before this and that. And I was just like, you can't stop it. No matter what you do, people are going to read things. And I tried to be pretty clear about like how like the business created and everything like that. But yeah, it was amazing the assumptions that people come up with from 2 pages and 10-minute videos.
Yep. And then you find yourself almost having to justify yourself to people you don't even know. And then you start to reflect on yourself, like, why do I care what they think? But why do I care what they think? Like, I don't care what they think, but why do I kind of care what they think?
Yeah.
It's, it's a weird, this weird thing with social media where you're putting yourself out there, especially for candle business owners where we're making the product. So there's a part of you that almost feels that emotional connection towards your product. So when people don't like it, when there's not a good response immediately to it, when you're not starting to get a bunch of sales, it can almost feel like a personal, you can take things really personally. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure you've kind of learned over the years too, to try to not take things as personal. Like you kind of have to separate that emotion with business a little bit. In the beginning, it's totally understandable, super natural to still feel that emotional connection. I still have to reel Chris in sometimes because, if there's something that, like a wholesaler says like, oh, this product was missing. Like he will be like, that is impossible. Like he's so meticulous with everything. So I kind of have to reel him back in a little bit. But it's totally normal to feel that, insecurities of being online, that kind of like getting worried about negative feedback, the fear of what if nobody likes it, putting yourself out there. And I think that is weighing the risk benefit of actually starting a business and being okay to put yourself out there and get through that so you can reap the rewards of actually growing a business and, hopefully becoming successful, whatever that definition of success is to you, because, so many people have different versions of what success is. And that's actually an interesting question. What do you define success to be in your perspective when it comes to, I don't know, life or business or, whatever it is?
Honestly, for me, I think it just comes down to, am I happy doing what I'm doing right now? I mean, if I'm making $100 a month and I'm unbelievably happy, or did I have a $25,000 month and I'm stressed out of my mind? Like that's not success to me. I mean, the numbers would say success, but I'm sleeping 5-6 hours a night, worried about emails. I wake up instantly in the morning and I'm checking emails like, damn, there's 3-4 orders that have to go out or should have gone out yesterday. I got to put them out today. Even though you worked like 16-17 hours the day before. And then again, making 500, in the very beginning of the candle business, bringing in an extra $500 a month was unbelievable. Making candles on the weekend, watching movies with the kids at night. It's that was to me very successful. I thought that was great. And of course, there are times when I was bringing in several $1,000s a month and happy also. You definitely have to weigh, like, are you feeling the grind? Or are you feeling the grind of it? Is it starting to get to you? Obviously, there's going to be people where it's going to be a monetary value that's going to describe success. And of course, I still want some of those monetary values or kind of those end goals. But for me, it's like, if work-life balance is great, having a good time at work, not all the time, but having a good time at work, coming home, doing candles, printing labels, whatever, for an hour, 2 hours, catching up on things, and then just kind of spending the evening doing what you want and still getting out to do the things that you want, especially now with you guys with a kid. You want to get out for the bike rides, going to the zoo, stuff like that. So to me, that's way more successful. Getting to see my kids, and now both my kids are out of the house. My daughter actually just graduated from UW 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
My son is going through an electrician program right now. He's doing what he wanted to do. So yeah, just kind of, I don't know. If life is good and you're feeling it and you're happy when you go to bed at night, that's where my success kind of peaks.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get stuck on the physical, tangible,
Yeah.
components of success, like
Yep.
the comment of why don't you rent a studio if you're so successful? Why don't you buy a house? Like those like actual physical. And I think that that's
Yep.
what social media has done to us almost is that we see so many people showing off these physical, things that they have.
Yeah.
Whereas we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, like we were talking about. You have no idea what's actually going on in people's lives. As we've learned of
Yeah.
social media, of all these families that things were going on behind the scenes, even though they were still filming their day-to-day life, and like you just have no idea what's actually going on. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I completely agree with you. I feel like I feel like if you can get to the point where, which we're not there completely yet, if you can pay your bills, have a comfortable living, and have as least amount of stress as possible, I feel like that's the ultimate
Yep.
goal.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the points I tried to make in the comment I left on your video. And one of the things I wanted to bring up here was getting to a point where you're starting to make, I mean, you go from 1,000 a month to 5,000 a month, 10, 20, 30,000 a month, which I ended up doing with the business, started to like really grow it. Uh, Again, in the beginning, I mean, when I was at home doing candles out of the kitchen, making extra $1,000 a month, and this is back when candles you could still make a jelly jar candle for like $250, which you can't do anymore. So $250 going towards supplies, you've got an extra 750 that's just pure profit. Like that was great. And then jumping up into, and this is the main point I wanted to make is somebody getting into a warehouse or a boutique storefront or anything like that. All those added costs. If you're making, let's say, a $25,000 month, I mean, I got to the point where my overhead was $10,000 just between the $2,500 for the rent, for the lease. It was at least another $1,000 for utilities. The website cost jumped through the roof. I think it was like $400 or $500 because you're tacking on SKUs, you're tacking on all the different apps that you can do. We had the POS system that was in the store, which is another $100, $200. You're adding on employees, which are anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month. So 2 employees, you're looking at $4,000 to $6,000 a month just for 2 employees. So that overhead quickly goes to $10,000. You're ordering supplies. And another thing I wanted to bring up is getting into a retail space, you quickly realize that you probably need to bring in something more than candles because just a candle only store is going to do well. But if you've got more options as far as like soaps, lotions, and then we did clothing, jewelry, kitchenware, stuff like that, you're tacking on another $5,000 in ordering supplies. So that $25,000 a month instantly turns into $4,000 or $5,000 of actual profit, and you use that to like then pay yourself. And it's like, okay, I busted my ass. I mean, I'm still working full time, which was stupid on my part at the time, but working full time, going into the warehouse, again working full time, and then you see $4,000 come back from all that, and you're just like, God, was that really worth it? Because I had damn near an extra $1,000 a month just working 3-4 hours on the weekend before when I was doing that out in my kitchen.
Work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was at home with the kids. And once I had the warehouse, the kids were like towards the end of high school, getting out of high school. So it wasn't as bad. But yeah, when you're younger, and especially with a kid as young as yours now, you want to kind of spend that time at home. So that's where I made the point in the comment where honestly, at this point, I would much rather have a $5,000 to $10,000 month out of my garage, and you can definitely do $10,000 out of your garage, or if you have a big enough garage, of course, and how much you want to work. But having a $5,000 month out of my garage beats a $25,000, $30,000 month out of a warehouse for me any day.
Yeah. Now, in hindsight, do you ever think, hey, I wonder what would have happened if I would have quit my job and went all in on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about that one all the time. And that's where I kind of mentioned it earlier in the interview. It got to a point where things were doing so well, and I almost made the leap. My coworkers, my IT team that I work with, they actually had a calendar pool going on when I was leaving. So a couple people had 6 months out, couple people had like 3 months out, and I was actually getting to the point where I wanted to make that leap. And I think I probably could have made it work. One of the downfalls that kind of sunk us also, and not to say sunk us, that's not what did it. Getting into a specific location, the spot that I ended up choosing was not the greatest location. And for a warehouse, you really don't care where the location is, but we ended up opening the boutique just because we had space. Mm-hmm. And it was in a building that was kind of unassuming. It looked like an office building. Nobody thinks retail's in there. So you immediately just disregard any foot traffic. It was a building that also didn't get any foot traffic anyway, because most of the other businesses in there were just like your run-of-the-mill attorney office or something like that, or they had a dog groomer downstairs. So yeah, getting into something like that, I think I probably could have made it work a little bit more. Well, I definitely could have made it work a little bit more, because I would have had nothing but time to move stuff around, made sure that more products were coming in at the right time, because trying to do that stuff 2-3 hours a night, you're going to overlook stuff for sure.
Yeah. I
and that's imagine. One of those, and that's one of those things you really have to make that big leap. And that's why I'm trying to be more strategic about it at this point, is giving up your job, benefits, retirement, anything like that is a huge ask. And you really have to make sure that you're there. And there are certain things like I said, with the printing, there are certain things I could do to speed up the efficiency, printing 3,000 labels in 4 or 5 days, whereas the printer I'm looking at could do it in 3 hours. So going from 3-4 days to 3 hours is huge, but it's also a $10,000 investment. So there are certain things that if I can set that up beforehand, that'll help me make that decision a lot better. And of course, putting yourself full time into anything is going to end up a little bit better. But like I said earlier, I'm glad I didn't leave, because it was right at the time where COVID was shooting up and then instantly going down. And then the next couple of years after that, the economy started to get even shakier. So I'm glad I didn't leave.
Yeah, I didn't have the same thing, but we had the situation to where we were thinking, oh, do we go rent a house during this time? And that would have increased our rent by, I think, $800 or $900 a month, because we had a pretty good price with our apartment at the time.
Yeah.
And we decided to just wait another year just to see, and we were very glad that we did, because I mean, everything was just going up, and by now we'd probably be spending, obviously way more in rent.
Oh yeah.
Being in a house, and of course utilities is way more and everything like that. So I get it. I mean, I totally understand, and that's why I always share that, yes, we primarily live off of our candle business, but I do have other streams of income to help offset that cash flow inventory kind of feeling. Like, we're constantly like, okay, what does this month look like? What are we doing? What kind of money do we got going on? Because it's a constant thing. It's not like, okay, like we know it's not like a constant paycheck, every single month.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you've got the convenience and you've got the convenience and the luxury of being at home. Again, like you said in the video, you've got a young kid. It's kind of nice to just, when the kid's sleeping or if sleeping in a little bit, you can just go do the candle business for 2 to 3 hours, and then you're free to just walk in the other room and enjoy the rest of the day. I mean, granted, like, stuff is kept up, orders are out and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, you can take a break in the middle of the day and then pick it up at 8 o'clock at night for another hour or two when you put the baby down.
Yeah, exactly. And I have the luxury of having my husband,
exactly.
in the business with me. So that's a massive
definitely something and that's definitely one of the things to think about, because once you get into a retail space, I don't think people realize how often they're going to be there. And people are in different situations too. Some people are done with kids, like I'm done having kids. So me spending 4 or 5 hours at night in a retail space wouldn't be that big of a deal. I mean, I'm not rushing home to anything. I don't have to get home and run the kids to sports or anything like that. So it's a little bit easier. But for me, I don't know, I'm at the point now where I like coming home from work, just sitting down. I start printing, start making candles in the other room. And I don't know, it's just a little bit more peaceful for
I
me.
was gonna say not so much stress as going to a
Yeah.
warehouse and trying to figure out what's going on and,
Yep.
trying to be in almost like a manager kind of position. Like,
Yeah.
did you feel like that was challenging for you? I feel like that'd be really challenging for
It
me.
definitely was. I'm not the type. I'm not the type. I don't like to. I don't really care for confrontation. I don't like having to pull employees aside, and I never really had to. But I don't know. I just. Not to mention, it kind of pulls away from what I like to do, which is more the creative side. I like making things. I always have. I like making the candles. I like coming up with the designs for the labels. I like putting out products and having to spend your day going through L&I and setting that stuff up. I'm just like, ugh, like this is not what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, so I think I had one last question I was gonna end today's conversation because I know I think about an hour in right now. So what I
Okay.
want to know is what are you doing now? What are your current business goals and what are you working with like within the next year or two?
Right now, still working full time. I
Mhm.
still love my job. Still love doing that. With the side business, I still make candles. I still make videos every once in a while. I don't do as many as I need. I'm trying to get back into the habit of putting out consistent videos, but still making candles. But the main thing right now, printing has been doing really well. So many people, once I actually said, hey, I can print more labels, I upgraded printers, a lot of people have been reaching out. So that's one of those areas that kind of opened up and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to run with this one and it still fits within the candle area.
Mhm.
So for the next year, definitely looking to upgrade the printer. I just got this one here so I can actually do like full banners and tissue paper and stuff like that. Upgrading the printer, like I said, so I can cut down from a 3-day print to a 3-hour print would be amazing. So trying to run that way. And then one of the things I liked doing the most when I sold supplies was selling fragrance oils. And they were doing really well 5 years ago when I did it, 4 years ago, whatever it was. But my focus was pulled so far away into 30 other things. I'm finally at a position now to where I can bring back the oils. So trying to roll those out slower this time. I
Mhm.
just got basically I brought back our best seller from last time. So I've got that one bottled up. I've got the second one on the way. So I don't know. I'm so comfortable staying at home and just doing this more at a snail's pace now that I'm just bringing out one oil, then it'll be 2, 3, 4 over the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
And just getting to a point where it stays fun, which I think
Yeah.
you've probably dealt with also.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, because I mean, if I brought out 50 oils right now, I'd be running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to keep up with 50 oils. I really don't care to do that anymore. I'm bringing back the kind of the top 5 to 10, and I'll just sit with that for a little bit and kind of let it grow nice and slow. And like you said, keeping cash on hand. Like I'm done with the loans. I don't need to do anything like that. If it takes me an extra 2, 3 weeks to get this like fourth, fifth oil or whatever, I'm good with it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And it's also really tailoring to what I try to talk about on my channel too, is like instead of having a million different fragrance options, like
Yeah.
so many different options,
Yep.
really going towards, and you probably have experience too on what fragrances actually do the best, like sell the best too. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah.
starting with?
Yeah, and the other thing one of the reasons I held off selling oils, I mean, of course, going through a divorce through that wasn't the best, but yeah, just I moved a couple times, got into a smaller place where I just couldn't bring back oils or anything like that, and finally got to a point where I can bring back the oils, but during COVID, during that 2020, 2021, there were so many people that started selling candles, so many people that started selling oils, and I was like, I'm going to stay away. I'm not jumping into the mix. And at the time I knew I'll let some of these smaller companies kind of fizzle out first because this is not the right time to be pushing. And sure enough, I mean, 8 or 9 of them have all made posts like, hey, can't keep up, not doing this anymore. So it definitely feels a little bit kind of better timing to jump back into it.
Hmm.
And I mean, just seeing what Wade has done is awesome. I love seeing the growth that he's done, and it
Yeah.
irritates not him irritates me for me and my own because I'm very competitive with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, God, I'm like, damn it. I was like, if all that stuff didn't happen, if I didn't get into a stupid warehouse, like I could have had the oils at a point now, and so Yeah, I could have had the oils to a point where they would have been great, but I did too many stupid things. I signed up for vessels, I signed up for waxes, wicks, opening the boutique. It was just, I don't know, so many bad moves that you don't know until you make them. And then, yeah, I mean, signing up for wax, which has horrible margins.
Yeah, I was gonna say the heaviness. I could imagine, like, and you probably got to buy
Yeah.
a lot to get it down low enough to where when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
that there's actually a margin
Yeah.
there.
Well, you've bought
Um,
pallets before. So, I mean, I think a pallet from Calwex was like 5,000, which works out to what, like $99 a case or something like that at the time.
yeah.
You can only sell those for 120. So it's like, I can make $20 selling it like two candles. Like, why?
Yeah. Why am
And the
I
shipping
shipping all these
costs.
huge and the
Yeah.
space it takes up?
Well, yeah, exactly, and that was the other thing with vessels was if you're going to do well in vessels, you need to have 30 different styles to choose from, 20 minimum, and then to have 20, you're looking at 10 pallets each of each one. Because if you've only got 100 of one vessel, those are going to be gone in 2 days, and then it's going to take 3 weeks to get the next set. So having that much space, that much variety, yeah, it just quickly became a nightmare, and yeah. I don't know. There were so many things. And then Wix have a decent profit margin, but you're getting them in 5,000 piece boxes. Then you got to bag them yourself. I mean, and that takes a hell of a long time. So
Yeah.
you're bagging for 7, 8 hours to make $4 on a bag of Wix. It's just like, yeah, that's not
Did you
worth it.
weigh them or did you count them individually?
No, I ended up getting a real nice scale. It was like $400 on Uline, and it does it by piece count. So you load one wick, it weighs the wick.
Oh,
So
okay.
when you throw in 100, it tells you you've got 100 wicks. So
Okay.
that, yeah, just simple things like that that speed up efficiency. Just like I'm trying to do with the printer now, trying to upgrade to that new printer, which is going to cut down lead time like crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, Wix ended up being a nightmare.
Yeah. I could only imagine. And did you feel like a pressure like when you were starting, like, oh, well, I also have to have all these other supplies too. Like I
Oh
gotta have
yeah,
jars and I gotta have wax and I gotta
yep.
have wicks and I gotta have, when really you probably just wanted to do fragrance.
Yeah, the fragrances came along soon after, but it was, yeah, I mean, I had so many people, and you probably the exact same way. You've got so many people coming to you saying, like, you should sell this. I would buy this from you. And then I was like, yeah, supplies would be kind of cool. It seems like the natural progression. And then, of course, you want to offer everything because you want to be a one-stop shop. And
Mhm.
then if somebody's coming to your place for vessels, and at the time, I think we had like 3 different styles to choose from, which is good. And I had a ton of them, but people want way more options than that. So that's when you get to the point where people come to your website, they see your website, they're like, oh, he's only got 3 vessels. Uh, some people are just never going to come back. So you want to have that variety so they know to keep coming back. And yeah, trying to take on all that stuff was just way too much.
It's been a long time since Jeff and I have come together to do a video like this, so I really hope you enjoyed. There's a lot that we can take away from Jeff's experience. I know that I did, and it really made me feel even more confident in the path that Chris and I are on with our own business. I will leave Jeff's links down in the pinned comment down below as well as in the show notes. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and I will see you in the next one.